Hey guys, welcome back to the Tough Love Podcast with Dr. John O'Connor. Today's podcast is sponsored by MedRay Laser and Technology, the absolute best in the business. Matty Kid, what's up?
Not much. Good to be back.
Matt, so excited. Today's going to be a short and sweet podcast about the power of social networking, events, and targeted posts. Like, in other words, what you drive out there to get eyes on you for what you're trying to build and what your message is and your why into what you do.
Right.
So I want to start with, Friday's event at the Block. Huge thanks to Tom and the crew there. It was absolutely a success. There was probably 30, 40 guys there. Andrea was there from Industry Magazine, as well as a couple major PR companies. And I have to say, just a huge thank you to everybody. But strategically, I was so impressed that, normally I reach out to Birdie and say thank you. I walked out of there so supercharged that I sent out 42 to 45 thank you text messages within like 15 minutes of, leaving the Block.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I want to, talk about today and just put some key points that I'm learning and stuff that I'm, teaching from all the reading I'm doing. And I'm seeing how it's resonating to my audience and building my audience.
No, 100%. I mean, to be honest, it's all about social. I know first Friday of every month, you like to have the gathering, the social. It started off with about 10 to 15 people. And this past Friday at the Block, it was
packed.
50.
Yeah.
And what's amazing to me is every single person has a pearl to show and teach and get others involved in with what they're doing. So tell your listeners a little bit about the purpose and the meaning behind these social gatherings and growth and where it's brought you today.
You got it. Absolutely. So, 2 years now, we opened up Velocity Wellness Institute, which is a aesthetics, anti-aging, wellness business. And I had met a very interesting person that is in similar space and basically took over the East Coast. And I said, I don't know if I can do that, but I can definitely take over Monmouth County and let's start there. And so I wanted to get people that were like-minded, and put guys in a room that, whether there was, dentists or, fashion heads or supermodels, former supermodel like my one friend Ray, bankers and everything in between. Then I made it a point to strategically introduce everybody. And, people were asking, this is like Le Tip, you got to bring somebody. And I was laughing. I said, no. I said, there's certain things, obviously I'm not bringing people that do what I do. But, my message is, guys, I'm going to put you in an amazing space. I'm going to make a point to have it organized. We're going to be there for a few hours. You're going to make powerful connections. You're going to maybe voice some like pain points in your business and maybe meet somebody like, our social media team, or like, for instance, tomorrow, my friend Jesse brought his brother in and I was blown away with what this guy does. And he is a, social network superstar, 11 million followers on that. On Instagram, everything he has is just fire.
Right.
And he's like, hey, let's get together tomorrow and sit down. I'd like to try to get behind you on some ideas and see if we can help drive them nationally. And because again, I think the one common thread is our social media, I think, is fantastic, but to get it out there and continue the messaging to grow, it's got to reach more people.
Yeah. How
do you do that? That's the $1 million question. I don't know. And, we're doing a great job, and we just hit 107 or 108,000 followers, on the Dr. John O'Connor page, but still to grow, that's touching, 25 to 40,000 people a month. But how do we touch 1 million? How do we touch 25,000 on every post? Because then you're talking real numbers, and then you're talking, give them something of value, and then you can monetize it.
Right.
Give them something that everybody's giving them, and then you're probably a swipe.
No, absolutely. Now, what can you take away, even just from this past Friday's social event? What pearl can you give the listeners as far as social networking, influencing, gaining more traction with followers, and just getting the word out there for any type of business?
That's a great question. So what I always say is Andrea Agan, that's the vice president of sales, or to me, my right hand at a lot of my on-site podcast events, that she, personally, because she, endorses and gives me the blessing and lines up the restaurants, whatever, she's helped building my brand. And I couldn't have been more excited to actually get our first potential client for her. That was also a patient and a friend and has done some services with us. And I was like, yeah, I was so grateful. And meanwhile, she's like, thank you so much. This is what I was saying. And I said, because what I want to learn is that if I can convey a message to somebody and say, I do this, and then they're looking at the value I'm getting from it, that then they'll say, hey, I'll give that a shot because he's really doing well with that. Right. And if he's doing that well, if I do half as well as that, I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
And so I think my takeaway was, which I have to circle back to her tonight, is now that it's growing, now we have to come up with the next thing, right? And that is, I think we're reaching out to these guys. It's not just come smash 5 drinks and go home stumbling. Right. It's really about putting people in and creating a network link like the Skulls or something that's awesome, where like guys can count on guys.
And you don't send thousands of emails. You send one text and they all show up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because, and I will tell you, Tom hooked us up from the block. I mean, I don't think that's something common that they do. They're not, they don't really run an open bar.
Well, I think it was their first one.
Yeah. And, the guys all were like, can't wait to go.
Right.
And the place is, 5-star, it's got an amazing atmosphere. And it was funny because when I was sitting there, I got there early and, as I've been dieting so much, I was a little nervous and I'm like, all right, I'm day drinking, and I sat down, I had a meatball, I had, I had their awesome sausage potato thing, which not on my diet, and I ate some bread.
Yeah.
And, one of my friends had got there early and they're like, this is so not your diet. I was laughing. I go, oh no, my boy Dom said, if you're going to have tequila, make sure you got some bread in your stomach,
make sure
eat some
you
food.
do it right.
And of course, I'm shoveling down even a little pasta and everything was fantastic.
Yeah.
But it was funny because he could tell like I was in my head and he goes, listen, let's just sit there. And I said, yeah, you know what? If you don't mind, I like that 10, 15 minutes of quiet just to say, I want to make sure and go through who's coming on the list and who can I connect to say, hey, you do law, but what kind of law? Oh, I do commercial contract stuff and I'm moving into entertainment law. Wow.
He's your guy.
Well, not only that, exactly, for a future, that's something to have in there. But Armand is up from Miami and he is kind of a celebrity status. And another guy showed up that was an actor that has a film production thing.
Yeah.
So I made the intro and here he is aspiring to go. And these guys love that, seeing a young attorney, and they just connected just like that. They're sharing Instagrams.
That's amazing.
They're taking contacts. They're following each other on LinkedIn. And to me, what, again, that validates that someone says, oh no, yeah, reach out to John, ask O'Connor. He knows he's always got a guy. And I will tell you, I've had a friend, a longtime friend in town that helped build my practice in Red Bank and owns restaurants, some awesome restaurants. And he always had a guy. He had a guy in a contact. And, and the way I see it is when you have restaurants that are super successful for over a quarter century, you're going to meet a lot of guys and girls, you know what I mean? And in this setting, I thought it was so valuable because that is starting to happen and materialize.
So what you're saying is that saying is true. You know a guy who knows a guy?
Exactly. And, and I have to say, like I said, everything that I'm reading right now is not necessarily in reinventing yourself, but if you've been successful, show that part of your story and, show that on your social media. And if you're trying to scale, show what that looks like. I saw a great one on Alex Hormozi today and it said, usually with growth, the first thing you experience is pain.
Yeah.
And that resonated because I'm in it right now. I've changed so much as a person the last couple of years. We have, I guess too, it's not necessarily empty nesters yet, but, my son is down at IMG, as you know, and, you know, my daughter's going to be a senior, and you start thinking about like, what's next?
Yep.
The flip side is, you know, you hope you've done a good enough job that they've grown their wings and they can be independent and thrive in college. And then while you're still young enough, like I look at it like, okay, guess what? Now the world is my playing field. How can I attack that to grow and scale and go into different business verticals and put myself in a situation that I'm winning at other things so I don't get bored?
Yeah.
And not only do I not get bored, how do I teach these other people around the world what I do? They see value. And again, we talk about it over and over again. When you can fix people's problems, that's a skill and a service,
right?
And they'll pay for it.
100%.
You know, and that's really what, you know, I'm trying to do with the whole social networking thing is I'm already on it. Like I want to pick a spot and be ready to go for May.
Without a doubt.
I definitely want to go that first Friday in May. It's my 50th birthday is on the 5th. And, you know, I want to rock and roll, whether it's the first, I think I'm going away, or the second week. I definitely want to make sure that I come out of the gates running, and that May, June, July is all about just really just running the table. And when we show up the next one, it's a hot spot and there's 75, you know, just A-list people there.
No, definitely.
And so I think that's super important.
Yeah, without a doubt right there. My biggest takeaway is you're always networking and, you know, making connections, but how does it feel to sit back and see everybody that comes in connect with each other? You not even talking, sitting back, realizing, wow, I created this. It's amazing to see.
You know what was great was I was networking, had my social media team there. As much for them to grow their business and brand as me to have photographers there and social media videographers, whatever they want to be referred to. And what I saw that was super special was that the guys that were 30 and 40 and 50 loved seeing these young entrepreneurial minds and went right at him saying, "You're young, how old are you?" And they loved it. And he's going to get business because of his grind.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then sitting back and watching who gravitated to who and who was, you know, sitting there, you know, sharing conversation and sharing contact, you know, I was blown away because I said, hey, you know what, we did this. And, you know, there were future patients coming in for men's wellness, a couple new contacts and good friends.
Yeah.
And I think when you're raising up your fitness level, people are coming up and they're touching you and whatever. And I'm chuckling and I'm like, they're like, damn doc, you know, oh, safe, you know, and I laughed and I said, I love that. You know, I think it's so important that your body, how you take care of yourself, how you look, you know, first impressions, you know, are so critical. And to roll in and have a physical presence and be on top of all that commands, because there's no doubt in my mind, you know, the one guy with the huge social media conglomerate, his brother is a bodybuilder, ridiculous shape. And he was a former bodybuilder himself. Now he's in his 60s. And he said something that really drew me. He goes, you keep yourself in great shape. You move through the crowd very well. And I want to hear your thoughts on what you're doing in business because I believe I can help you get bigger than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And really it's, you know, it's those kind of things that make you go, yeah, I like that. I like how that sounds.
And fueling off of that, right? Never judge a book by its cover, but it's one thing, a lot about first impression with looks, but to be honest, my opinion, it's all about the story behind, right? So everyone might think you're, you know, obviously you're uprising right now, but what you have gone through, that's what built it up to where you're at 100%.
Today. And, you know, there were generations of people that I've been friends with there.
Yeah.
And I don't, in those moments, like to share the low points, but you know, when someone asks like, wow, I mean, you look great. And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's like, I really immersed myself in the, you know, men's health sector, whether it was doing NAD plus strips or, you know, anything I could do, the peptides, the anti-inflammatory peptides, whether it was the BPC or the TB500, Moreland, I was looking at it and my medical team was like, this is going to help with the inflammation. This is going to help with the muscle growth. This is going to help with diet. This is going to help with sleep. And we were checking the boxes all the way around. And so when people are like, say you look fit, I'm like, you know, it's amazing is all the different business verticals I got into started recent in the last 3 years, 4 years, started from desperation. I couldn't do what I once did. And I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be able to do it again, at least at that level.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need Audible. I need to really make an effort to get back to health.
Right.
And, from my morning routine to, food prep on Sundays and Wednesdays, which is a lot.
Yeah.
How hyper I am. And like anything I do, I'm going all out. I mean, it's a process. It's an hour of shopping, then you come home. It's 45 minutes of cleaning and 2 hours cooking. In my math, that's 4 hours.
Yeah.
But if I want the results, then you got to put in the work.
You got to put the time in.
And so I think, I feel blessed we're working on stuff small scale all the time. But even this podcast allows me to work on how I present, the speed of my pitch and what I say and how I communicate. So I do think it's super important to stay on par with that. And I'm thankful to be able to see the hard work I've put in and the results, and that I feel like this is all going in the right direction because of the pain that I've initially felt. And listen, am I 1,000% healthy? No. But I'll tell you what, the amazing tools and, people out there like Gary Brecka, who's got huge sponsors behind him, I'm kind of a byproduct of that, right? Unknown to them. Like, wow, I'm doing all this. And I don't have that platform behind me yet. But, when people come in and they're like, wow, you really live on that PEMF unit, and man, you keep yourself in great shape, and you do this and do that. And I'm like, I was so sick of people identifying me to a condition, an ache, a hurt, a region in your body, that I was like, I want to be John O'Connor again.
Yep.
I want to, broadcast to the world and share that story to say, you were on top of the world.
Yeah.
Fell off the mountain, rolled down, got hurt. Okay. Put your boots on. We're climbing back up.
Yep.
And that journey, there's going to be some aches, there's going to be some pains. But if you keep moving your feet forward, step by step, great things will happen.
You'll be at the finish line.
And that's it. So like I said, today was about the importance of that social media and sharing that. I'm excited with the social media team I have. I'm so excited to meet with this guy tomorrow to understand what they bring to the table, because it's different. It's an international scale, right?
For sure.
And I want to hear what he has to say, because again, for me to get to the audiences that I want to touch, I know that I have to take the amazing content I have now and keep learning.
Right.
And even some of the content is not amazing.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But you know what? Getting stuff to go viral because of the heart and the passion, the commitment that we put into it, that's important to me. And, I'll tell you right now, and me, when I say I'm going to do something, my goal is to be somebody that can go on stage and people know my name all over the world because of the hard work and the commitment to my body and my health and regaining my health, and then putting it out there saying, hey, I did this. You can do it too.
Without a doubt. Definitely. In words of our first podcast, it's time to level up.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. So the one thing I'll tell you is this, is closing today, I think we nailed it. Today wasn't necessarily about having a marathon. Sometimes a sprint that's powerful is all you can ask for. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Today was about the importance of social media, not just posting stuff out there that's not grabbing eyes, but the why to what we do with the Dr. John O'Connor page and everything there, how it ties into our other businesses, educating people on my story and my journey, how I take care of myself. And if you're struggling with stuff, and, that's why I say follow us. And I encourage you guys to take a look at the technology. We're constantly putting valuable stuff up there. So thank you. If you guys find value to this, please share this podcast. Please comment. Please go to it and leave a review. All these things help send the message out there and get us to the top of our category, what we do. So thank you. God bless you. And we'll see you guys again soon.